The day started out so quiet and beautiful sunrise, just the sound of the birds calling. I started out with a small flock of mixed birds, some Carolina chickadees, titmice, song sparrows. There's a white-throated sparrow off in the distance calling. And this happened twice with the camera where it just would not focus on the subject and stayed on the background. It was pretty frustrating, but I managed to get through it. The light was so nice, shining in across an open field right on these birds. They never hold still long enough, though. I just kept waiting for one to land in just the right spot. And the song sparrow finally jumped up, gave me this beautiful perch with the beautiful light. I always love a good thorny perch. The background was relatively clean, and he was just in that just right opening there, surrounded by the thorny branches and stuff like that. So that was a nice perch, and I'm glad the camera finally caught focus on this one, because I missed some really good ones earlier. There was a decent number of birds in this area. It was just a matter of getting any of them to land on open, clean background perches. That's always the challenge when you're shooting in a thick area like this with lots of cover for these birds. They tend to stay in that cover. At one point I saw this ruby-crowned kinglet bouncing around up top. It never came low, but it was just fun to watch. These things are so non-stop. Now, again, I couldn't get focus, so I had to go down to the bigger branch before I could get it and finally get this Carolina chickadee. This one little branch was in the way, and I moved over, but just not quite far enough. Look at that. I needed to move another foot. And then here I go to take that step, and then, of course, it flies. Love when they hang from stuff like this, too. So there was a good flurry of activity, and then it wasn't long before the sun started getting filtered by some clouds, and that golden glow kind of disappeared. I hung out for a little bit more, hoping some of these birds would give me an opportunity, but as you can see, this chickadee just kind of stayed back. Oh, the one branch right in front of the head. As you can see, there's so much stuff here. This is why I really prefer to use a monopod in these scenarios, because I can move left and right so much quicker than with a tripod. I moved over to this wide open field in hopes to find Eastern Meadowlarks, and I heard them in this field, but what flew over next, it surprised me even more. There it is. A lovely gray ghost Northern Harrier, a male. Beautiful bird. So I immediately switched to trying to track and photograph him. I watched him glide over the field for maybe 5 minutes. You could see he was actively hunting. And then all of a sudden I started hearing the meadowlarks again, and they were kind of flying towards me. There they come. I didn't know what to point at. My attention was all over the place. Here comes that harrier again. He flew over to the same area and dropped right down along this roadside. And what I didn't realize at the time was he had caught something already. So right now he actually has his prey and is flying into the middle of the field to start eating it. So he landed right there and then began the stalk. So once he settled in for a bit, I just started taking a few steps forward, trying to get a little closer, get a little bit better vantage point. The whole time making sure I watched his body language, making sure he was still looking down at the prey and working with that, and that I wasn't pushing him away. Quick check, he's still eating. Let's move some more. Normally in a situation like this, I would actually crawl on the ground, but honestly I was being lazy. I didn't feel like getting that messy, and the equipment that I have to drag along with me to record these videos is a lot larger and heavier than just the camera, so it's not too easy to crawl around with that. So I checked him out again once I moved a little closer. Here I just punched in on the back of the camera so you guys can really see him actively feeding on whatever he caught, probably a vole or something. I'm still pretty far away at this point. He was still actively eating. Time to move in a little bit more. A little bit lower perspective. And now you can really see him feeding. And I'm not sure why, I hadn't even moved, but he decided to lift up. And then he actually flew almost a little closer to me and just landed again. So I'm not sure what kicked him up that time. But now with the terrain, the grass was a little too high when I was set down on the ground, so I decided to see if I could get to the top of a small hill that you can't really see here, but it was there. So I just took a nice, slow, steady approach. And I don't know if you can see him right in the middle there, but he's still actively feeding as I was moving. So I just made sure to keep an eye on that, and then got down low again. I didn't have any photos I was happy with yet. And that hill is still there. So I manually focused, and you'll see in a second, you can kind of see his head peeking up from behind the hill there. So time to get a little closer. This time I lifted the camera up and laid it on my leg so I could get just a little bit higher, and there we go. I got the perspective I wanted, and I started taking some shots. It was actually a little too high of a perspective at this point because there's a lot of grass in focus there. So in a minute you'll see I'm going to drop the perspective even lower. I moved in just a little bit closer. And I determined that was about close enough. There we go. Nice clear view of him. That's a better perspective, a lot more foreground blur, and there's one shot. Made sure to lock focus. Did a little offset composition here. And then these are the shots I really like. Giving him space in the direction he's looking. There you go, look at that. That bright yellow eye. And then I just went to lower my camera a little more and he took off again. So I hadn't really moved much, but I guess he just had enough. And he just flew to this tree line. He actually went right through to a field on the other side and finished his prey over there. I didn't bother chasing him anymore, just in case it was me, and now it was time to go after the meadowlarks. Or as I like to call them, meadow sharks. I love the way they just go around through the grasses and then all of a sudden they just pop up out of nowhere. Interesting birds, beautiful birds. There's one, just peeking his head up, but I couldn't get focused quick enough. And I was a little too far. So let's see if we can get closer. And there goes one already flying away. I got a little bit closer, but nowhere near close enough for a shot. This is just zooming in so you can see the bird. That yellow is incredible on them. I eventually just gave up on those birds. I could not get anywhere near them. Anytime I moved, they would fly, and I just felt like I was chasing them around the field, so I gave up. I ended up walking around a little more and found a song sparrow in this area. You can see him bouncing around on these branches there. And so I decided to work with him. The light was good, the background was good. Nice curious look there. I got that branch coming right out of the head, so not a good shot. He was just bouncing all around in these branches. So it gave me a lot of opportunity, but because there were so many branches, a lot of those opportunities were not the best. Here's a perfect example. That one blade of grass right in front of him. And he's looking all around, and there was another song sparrow in the area calling, and I think he was being a little territorial. There we go, up high on the branch, but I wasn't able to get focused quick enough. Now I got him on this one, but notice this, all the branches in the background, I found them visually distracting. So I took a shot and then lowered my perspective. So there we go, getting a little bit lower here. And then all of a sudden you can see, once I get just low enough, all of those white branches are now below the bird and not right behind him. So then I just started composing some frames, trying to guess which way he was looking, darken the exposure a little bit, and then got the shot. There we go. Cleanish background. I don't have any of those white areas back there. Looks much nicer. So that one little change in perspective made a big difference on that shot. There we go. Every time I would get him in focus, he would move. That happened so many times. Another branch in front of him. Look, just move up, right? Just move up. That's all he's got to do. And now he's just going to stay right there and then leave. This is the fun of this kind of bird photography. You get so many opportunities that are almost just right, but not quite. Here's another one, big branch right going through the background. That's no good. The grasses look really nice though. And he never stayed put long enough for me to really kind of move and clean the background up. Now I got a little piece of grass in the front there that's out of focus. But that big branch over top of him, it's kind of framing him, but I didn't love it anyway. And then he didn't stay long enough for me to like move and fix that. Alright, he's back up again. Not bad, we got a clear view of the bird, but again we got grasses coming out of the head and everything. This is a little better, still got some grass coming out, so now I'm going to move and try and use that branch in the background to frame him. There we go. Now look, his head's right in the opening of the grasses there. So offset in that direction he's looking, and then there we go. That's the shot right there. Placed his head right in that opening. I was so thankful he stayed just long enough for me to do that. Because the rest of the time, most of these shots just didn't turn out. I kept trying. I didn't give up too easily. Yeah, he's just kind of nestled in a bit of stuff there. Bright spot of grass coming right out of the back of his head. So that's less than ideal. Isn't it funny how birds will always stay in a spot quite a long time when it's not a great shot? When it's the perfect shot, they're there for a split second. Not bad, but big branch coming out of the back again. They do have such pretty markings. There's that grass in the way again. Again, all he's got to do, just move up. Move up a little bit. I actually started trying to move around because he stayed there a while. I looked left, I looked right. I actually ended up trying to lift up a little higher at one point, and I just could not get that grass from intersecting him in some way. Unless I would have completely moved around, at which point I think I was too close, and if I would have stood up, he would have flown away. So I just kept trying, but no luck. And then I was hoping he would maybe just bounce up on that branch. If he just went up a little higher, I would have had a beautiful shot, but the wind started picking up at this point too. There was a storm rolling in. This is when I say I started to try and get completely high above that grass, and he freaked out and moved. It's a nice perch, but a little busy. Not in love with this photo, so I didn't bother sharing it. And then I moved to a different area and found this one. I love this perch, but look how close the left branch is to him. So I slid right. All I did was lean over, got him in focus again, gave myself a little separation, and then got a shot I'm really happy with. Love that perch, and now that left branch isn't intersecting him. I stayed with this bird a little bit more, but never got much of anything else. That was pretty much the last good shot I got of the morning.
Well, not what I was expecting today. I found the meadowlarks, but could not get anywhere near them. There was one point where they started coming in my way, and then I just moved a little too quick, and then they all flushed, and I tried stalking, I tried walking in slow, I tried just waiting. I didn't wait that long though. I was a little impatient this morning. But yeah, just couldn't get any good shots of the Eastern Meadowlarks. But cool to see them. I'm glad I found them. I did, however, as you saw, find this Northern Harrier hunting, and then it caught something right in front of me, and I was able to stalk in pretty close on that and get some shots while it was ground level, so that was really cool. I started the morning with some beautiful light, and I had some Carolina chickadees, titmice, white-throated sparrow, song sparrow. I think I only got a good shot of the chickadee, but yeah, had some frustration with the focus on a couple other birds in that early morning light, and yeah, that was tough. They were on some gorgeous thorny perches, and the camera was just not focusing. It was just staying on that background, which is something I've noticed with this camera, so kind of frustrating with that, but whatever, not that much of a missed shot. What else did I have? Oh, and then just wrapped up with a really nice session with a couple of song sparrows, actually. Had them in a few different areas, was able to spend a good 15-20 minutes with them, so that was really cool. And, you know, not the most exciting species, but always just fun to work with something. And yeah, just nice to be out here, beautiful area. This Harrier seems to be his home base, so I'm looking forward to getting back here and trying with this bird again when it's a little bit more active. Thanks so much for tagging along. I hope you enjoyed this one, and happy shooting.